Hey team, it's Mr. Z, and we're going to continue where we left off, just kind of reviewing some of the key material in Math 3. Let's go ahead and dive on in. All right, again, given an equation. I am giving you just like carrots. This is the information you should know when you're looking at something in this form. This is factored form. So, when you're looking at this, remember f of x is the same thing as y, and it's going to be equal to a times x minus 1, x minus root 2. And basically the idea is that we're going to examine two things immediately. You should know that you can determine the quadratic, how it's going to look like, the concavity. Also, you should be able to identify the x-intercepts, the roots of an equation. So, concavity, let's start out with that. Concavity is always looking at the a value. The a value in this situation is going to be -4. This implies that it's going to be concave down. Simple as that. It's going to be a quadratic facing down. The only other piece of information you know is that there will be a point at the very top, at the vertex, and this vertex is going to be a maximum because it's at the top of the quadratic. All right, what else can I know? The x-intercepts. Normally, I would solve for these. However, if I understand factored form, I can get away with doing less work. Let me show you how to get away with doing less work. So, right here is where I'm going to be putting a lot of my focus on. Minus root 1 minus root 2. So, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the top equation, but I'm going to do so that it's in factored form exactly. So f of x is going to be equal to -4 times x minus. Now, I need it to be equivalent. It needs to be +3. So I'm going to write -3 as a clever way to write a subtraction problem as adding. Now 9, it's just being subtracted, so it can just be 9. The x-intercepts are going to be, well, a coordinate. The information I want is -3 and 9. What is it going to be in coordinate form? Well, an x-intercept is going to be either on the right, where it's going to be a positive number, or on the left, where it's going to be a negative number, 0. In both of these instances, my coordinates have what as a 0? The y. There you go, just like that. I'm going to take a moment to look at 5, but I'm going to actually just use the quadratic formula just as an opportunity to review. With the quadratic formula, I'm going to go ahead and look. A is equal to going to be 4, B is going to be equal to -5, and the C value is going to be equal to -6. Now, the quadratic formula is as follows: negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over the product of 2 and a. And this is going to be equal to my answer. This should be memorized. You should know at that point because you should have enough experience where you're able to compute this quickly. So let's go ahead and plug in some information. Now I'm going to go ahead and write it out. X is going to be equal to -5 plus or minus the square root of -5 squared minus 4 times 4 times -6 extend my radical all over 2 times a, which is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. Let's look at the left part. X is going to be equal to negative 5. Two negatives means it's just going to be a 5, plus or minus, let's go in the radical. Negative 5 squared means negative 5 times negative 5. A negative 5 times a negative 5 is going to result in a positive 25. Now, for this part, I'm going to go ahead and write minus 4, and I'm going to calculate the product of 4 and negative 6. That's going to be negative 24. All over 2 times 4 is 8. Notice how it got a little more manageable. I'm going to go ahead and figure out the second part of the radical, where I'm going to take negative 4 and multiply it by 24. It's going to end up in a positive 4 times 24, if you want to think of it as 4 times 20 plus 4. I'm going to multiply the 4 to each of them, resulting in 80 plus 16, making positive 96 over 8. I go ahead and take a moment to add 5 plus or minus the square root. What is going to be the sum of those guys? Well, 96 plus 25 is going to be 121 over 8. Lucky for us, x is going to be equal to 5 plus or minus 11 when I take the radical. Now, I have two answers. X is going to be equal to 5 plus 11 over 8. X is also going to be equal to 5 minus 11 over 8. Solving the top leads me to my first solution, which is going to be 2. Solving the bottom is going to lead, not in the top, it's not an exponent. My second solution is going to be negative 3 over 8.